I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. I'm Dan Hayward with the Alliance for Main Street Fairness here in Pennsylvania. I want to thank Mike Woodland for allowing us to come to Dan's Camera City in Allentown to talk in a very important issue here in Pennsylvania, but also across the country. We're here to talk about the Marketplace Fairness Act. And in Congress right now, the Marketplace Fairness Act has made its way through the Senate. It's currently in the House of Representatives. And what the Marketplace Fairness Act would do is create fairness for stores like Mike's and like Chris's all across America. So to make sure that online-only sales also have to collect or remit sales tax just like Mike's store and just like Chris' store has to do here in the Allentown area. So what I'd like to do is actually turn over to Representative Justin Simmons. Representative Simmons just recently had a resolution passed the State House that dealt with this issue. So I'm going to have Justin review the issue overall, and then we'll have some back and forth conversation as well. Justin?
Thank you, Dan, and thank you for the work that you've done on behalf of our Main Street mom and pop brick and mortar retailers. H.R. 571 is a resolution that I sponsored that's calling on the U.S. Congress and the President to pass the Marketplace Fairness Act. This is federal legislation designed to set uniform standards for the collection of sales tax by states. As a result of a series of U.S. Supreme Court decisions dealing with state taxation of mail-order catalog retailers, states are actually unable to collect sales tax from retailers that have no physical presence in that state. Obviously, with the creation of the Internet and the World Wide Web, this has become more and more of a problem. It has created an enormous tax loophole that has created an unfair playing field for retailers that have to comply with state sales tax requirements. With the growth of tax-free online retail sales, our community-based Main Street retailers are at an immediate price disadvantage. Businesses should compete on the same playing field so they succeed or they fail based on their price, selection, and service, not based on a tax loophole created by the U.S. Supreme Court. It comes down to the fact that government should not be in the process of picking winners and losers. If one business has to collect its tax, they all should. The state budget has lost out on sales tax revenue from transactions that would otherwise have to be taxed. The revenue that is being lost could be used to support broad-based tax reform for all taxpayers in Pennsylvania. The estimates of the lost revenue are anywhere in the neighborhood of $200 to $400 million. Our state has actually taken some steps to address this loophole. In 2012, the Department of Revenue took steps to enforce sales tax on online retailers who have affiliates in Pennsylvania. This includes companies that have warehouses in the state. But that's about as far as we can legally go right now. And it's time for Congress to step in and address this issue at the federal level. The Marketplace Fairness Act has passed the U.S. Senate with bipartisan support. It currently sits in the U.S. House Judiciary Committee. It has broad support from all sides of the philosophical spectrum, including the nonpartisan National Governors Association, the National Conference of State Legislatures, Governor Tom Corbett, and President Barack Obama. This resolution that I had passed overwhelmingly in the in the Pennsylvania House of Representatives was 189 to 10 with 3 abstaining. It had bipartisan support, including the minority and majority chairs of the Finance Committee, which it came through. And I think it's incumbent upon us in the state legislature to support our small businesses, our Main Street businesses, especially in Pennsylvania. Our Main Street areas and our downtown areas are so important. Our small businesses are so important to our economy. And the Pennsylvania legislature, basically with this resolution, sent a resolution to the U.S. House of Representatives with overwhelming bipartisan support for them to get this done, because we can't do anything unless they pass this. So I think it's important that we get the U.S. House down in Washington to pass this so we support our small businesses. And I thank you for coming out today. Thank you.
Representative, thank you so much. I think you touched on a couple hallmark points of our coalition overall in Pennsylvania with the Alliance for Main Street Fairness. And one of those is that government shouldn't be picking winners and losers, that there should be a level playing field, and a sale is a sale. And if there's sales tax that has to be collected and remitted at a store, brick and mortar store in Pennsylvania, so should online-only retailers have to collect that as well. What I'd like to do is turn over to our host, Mike Woodland, here with Dan's Camera City in Allentown and Easton. And Mike, if you wouldn't mind, give us a little perspective from you as a small business owner, how you've seen this issue snowball over the years as online-only retailers have only been able to collect more and more of the revenue retail dollar, and what you saw during the 2013 holiday retail season.
Okay, well, thank you, Dan, and I certainly want to thank Representative Simmons for pushing the issue forward. It's something that's been a long time coming. Dan's Camera City has been in business since 1977, and my partner Kevin Hooray and I purchased the business back in 2003. Even when we bought the business, the internet was not really a prevalent shopping factor.
Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
Online purchases were there, but certainly over the last several years, thanks to the great strides in technology and logistics and all that, more and more people are purchasing online for the convenience. Years ago, we certainly had mail-order competition and out-of-state competition, but it was so small it ended up being inconsequential in terms of its impact on, taxes that were not being collected. The frustration for me as a business owner is such that, we are involved in the community. We are enmeshed here in the Lehigh Valley. We support everything we can locally, be it different organizations and local agencies. And we employ people with, good paying jobs, things that help to keep the community thriving. And yet, when you look at what's going on with this current loophole, it's not uncommon for us to have a customer come in and be looking at, in our case, let's say a $600 or $1,000 camera. And on many occasions, they've actually, said to us, well, you talk about your price match, I see you're the same price on the camera. Because honestly, most of the camera manufacturers have advertising restrictions and kind of set the price that the cameras have to be sold for. So despite people assuming it's less online, when they come in and they look at our price in the showcase and they turn around and pull out their smartphone and check and they see, oh, Dan's is the same price as online, what ends up happening is they turn to the tax issue. And we've had many customers say to us, well, you claim you're going to match price, but on this $1,000 camera, you're going to be $60 more. And I looked at them and I said, well, how do you figure? Already knowing where they're going with it. And they say, well, if I order online, I don't have to pay sales tax, I have to pay you sales tax. And of course, when you say, well, you're supposed to remit that sales tax, you can imagine the chuckle we get from the customers. Oh, yeah, I'll be sure I report it. And unfortunately, it's a situation where in these times, as everybody's pinching every penny, watching every dollar, $60 or $120 till they build out their whole camera package becomes a tangible amount of money that people look to save. So it has become more and more of a challenge for us to continue to grow and prosper as we have this ability for people to, come in. They come in to seek our expertise and our resources, but then, like most consumers, they look to save every dollar they can. The frustrating thing is that this is a situation that really should have been corrected long ago. I understand it was small years ago and the impact to the states and all were minimal. But at this point, like when Representative Simmons pointed out, the amount of money that is going uncollected, that is revenue that is truly owed. It's not like it's a windfall for those consumers. It's money that should be being paid. It's money that the state is counting on. I'm sure when budgets were built and everything was projected, there was a certain assumption to what the sales tax collections would be. And as more people continue to find ways to skirt that and get out of remitting, I've seen firsthand the challenges it presents to holding budgets and doing what the state needs to do.
Well, Mike, thanks for your perspective on that. I think it's important to hear that. And I think it's important for the viewers of this program to hear what it means to a small business owner in Pennsylvania or across America. Our alliance in Pennsylvania is made up of almost 800 small business owners all across Pennsylvania, from Erie to Milford, Allentown to Pittsburgh. They share your story. And for listeners out there, just so you know that this isn't just a electronics camera store issue. We have pharmacists, we have florists, we have jewelers. We also have owners like Chris Schmidt with the Emmaus Run-In, who works in athletic gear, mostly sneaker sales and sneakers itself. And Chris, I think from your perspective, how do you see this as someone who's a completely different business model and what you sell from Mike, but you share similar stories, right?
I would concur with a lot of what Mike just said. Like a lot of his brands, we have prices that we must uphold to, and selling online, we're not allowed to discount or go lower than what is a suggested retail price. Our items may not be as high price as some of Mike's, but at the end of the day, yes. Even if it's a $100 sale, that's still $6 that somebody can save, and people are certainly looking to save as much as they can. If it's $6 or $12 on a sale, so if it's 100 people on a Saturday who are purchasing, and you just take those small numbers, but that number multiplies, you can certainly see where, going back to the state, where it could affect, even at a small level to a large level. And I think I mean, the bottom line to me, what's fair is fair. If we need to pay it and we have to pay it, then, I think it's something that everyone should have to do. And we are looking into making life a little easier for our customers. If it's an item that they're buying that it's over and over, maybe they're on vacation. Maybe you're down at the shore and you need a pair of shoes because you forgot your shoes. You could go to our store now online and and order it. But we're still collecting the tax at the end of the day. So I think what's fair is fair. And if we need to have to pay it, I can't see or find any other reason why no one else should not have to pay it as well.
Chris, thanks for that. And I think also, just from the three speakers we've had so far, I think I've heard the word fairness maybe 25, 26 times. And that is what we're seeking. We are seeking fairness overall as a coalition. We've had two different distinct studies in Pennsylvania look at this issue. One, Professor Bob Strauss from Carnegie Mellon University, who's an economist, looked at this and saw that Pennsylvania was missing out on over almost $250 to $400 million in sales tax revenue. And what does that mean for stores like Mike and Chris? That means incremental sales coming back to Pennsylvania. Might mean Mike was able to hire one or two or three more employees during the year, and Chris, maybe you the same thing. So we see a rejuvenation of Main Street with this. We also see what it means, as talking about rejuvenation on the jobs perspective. We had another study just done back in June with Art Laffer and Donna Arden from Washington, D.C. that looked at Pennsylvania in particular, and that over the next 10 years, if the Marketplace Fairness Act was enacted, that Pennsylvania would see roughly $15.1 billion in additional GDP and about 40,000 more jobs. And those are Main Street jobs. Those are jobs that support local, family-sustaining type jobs that we need here in Pennsylvania. I have Michelle Griffin-Young here with the Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce. Michelle is the Executive Vice President of Government and External Affairs. And Michelle, we've done a lot of work with chambers all across Pennsylvania, but since we're here in the Lehigh Valley, thank you for being here with us. And maybe if you want to share the association's perspective and how you feel about this as well.
I'd be happy to, and congratulations to Representative Simmons on the passage and such great support on a bipartisan level, which we don't see all the time. So great work, and also to our small business folks for continuing to pursue this very important matter. Our chamber is the largest in the state of Pennsylvania, and our whole theme is on every Main Street. And that's truly where these gentlemen are and where all of our small businesses are. And so I know we said we use the word fairness a lot. How about if we say it's just the right thing to do?
Fair enough.
Fair. But I think that one of the things that we're really working with Congress on it is to make sure that the burden on folks that will be remitting that haven't been remitting in the past is not going to be so great as to impair their business. So, we absolutely agree that this needs to be done. It's just a matter of what are the regulations within there so that these gentlemen and our 5,000 other members of the chamber can continue to thrive and grow. And small business is really where that starts. We know that the majority of jobs across the entire United States of America are from small businesses, and 99.7% of our chamber's members are small businesses, and mostly under 10 employees. So we are behind you and whatever we can do to work with Congress.
Michelle, I appreciate it. I know some of our larger stores across Pennsylvania that actually have nexuses. When I say nexus, that's a physical presence in additional states outside of Pennsylvania. And I've come to those small business owners and I say, how you collect in New York, you collect in Ohio, and they say, yeah, we do, because we have nexus there. If my accountant can do it, one-person shop, I think eBay and maybe some others, some of the largest and most sophisticated companies in the world could probably collect and remit as well. So that's kind of our mission overall. 800-strong coalition here in Pennsylvania. Stores like Mike's, stores like Chris's, supporters like Representative Simmons and Michelle as well from the chamber's perspective, working together to try to find a common sense solution on this issue. I think we're getting there. We need the U.S. House of Representatives to keep moving that ball forward, and hopefully that ball moves forward like Representative Simmons' resolution says. We can actually use that money that comes in for maybe some tax relief in Pennsylvania, support constituents so they have a little more money in their pockets so they can come buy an additional camera at Mike's or some additional running shoes at Chris's, or maybe another store like a cross-section of Main Street all across Pennsylvania that's looking for this legislation to pass so they do not have to fight with one hand tied behind their back with their online-only competition. Members of our roundtable, I want to thank you guys for being here today. Does anybody have any additional comments or questions for any of the spokespeople here today?
I just wanted to add, I just think it's important to emphasize that government shouldn't pick winners and losers. I think government needs to get out of the way, provide a system of regulations that's fair, and not pick winners and losers. And I think that's why it's important that we pass this in the U.S. House.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. Mike, thank you so much for hosting us here today. Really appreciate it. Chris, thanks for making the short trek up from Emmaus.
No problem.
And Michelle as well, thanks for coming over from the chamber
you.
and giving us your perspective. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.